Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Board of Selectmen for May 24th, 2011. And our agenda is such. We're going to take questions from the public, maybe approve some minutes. Then we're going to hold public hearings on granted locations for National Grid on a number of streets. We're going to discuss with Barry Capard, the MACPC, a issue of sustainable communities. We're going to discuss the cable access contract, also the tree and barn proposal, and maybe talk about some appointments and have our selectmen and town administrator reports. Before we get started, I'd like to mention that Selectman Rebuffo will not be with us tonight. He's at home with a personal matter. And also, before we get started, I'd like to ask Chief Duff to join us. He has a request for the public.
As you're aware, Mr. Chairman, the role of the fire service today has changed considerably. Not only do we do fire and EMS, we do hazardous materials, homeland security, weather issues, search and rescue, dive team operations, et cetera, et cetera. One of the other things that we train to do, and hope that we never have to do it, is technical rescue. That consists of high-angle rescue, collapse rescue, working in confined spaces, working below grade, et cetera, et cetera. We train quite a bit in that and hope that we never have to do it. Well, as luck would have it, on April 22nd, we did have to perform a technical rescue, and I'm very pleased to report to you that it was a complete success. And the people that were involved with the rescue and made it a complete success are here tonight. And I'd like to have, if Captain LaChance, Lieutenant Murphy, firefighter, paramedic Sarah Joy, and Kevin Bliss would stand up. Two people could not be with us tonight, but I will be giving them a commendation. It's one of the fun things that I get to do, and one of the fun things that you get to do. They have not had the benefit or heard the benefit of hearing the commendation. So with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to read it.
Please.
On April 22nd, 2011, the Hingham Fire Department received a report that a Linden Ponds employee had fallen approximately 22 feet into a quarry. Although injured, he was able to swim to a ledge located 15 feet below grade. On arrival, fire department members immediately proceeded down into the quarry to begin patient assessment and patient care. Bandages were applied, as well as a C-collar and oxygen therapy. The patient was then placed on a backboard and in a Stokes basket. While this was taking place, other members of the department, including members of our technical rescue team, began the process of setting up a technical rescue operation. This included an extensive operation of applying primary rescue ropes, backup rescue ropes, a belay system, which allowed us to safely raise the patient out of the quarry without further injury. All this occurred while we continued to monitor patient needs and apply medical support as required. It should be noted that from the time the fire department arrived on scene to the time the patient was placed in the fire department ambulance for transport to the hospital was just 50 minutes. The importance of adequate staffing, training, specialized equipment, and dedication to duty cannot be overstated. The following named members are highly commended for their actions. These actions reflect the high standards of the fire service in general and Hingham firefighters in particular. And that includes Captain LaChance, the incident commander, Lieutenant Murphy, operations officer, Lieutenant Shores, support team leader, firefighter paramedic Sarah Joy, lead paramedic, firefighter paramedic Kevin Bliss, support team, and firefighter paramedic Jeffrey Saunders. I'd also like to thank Lieutenant Levinson, who is here with us tonight, who is our technical team coordinator, not only for the town of Hingham, but for the entire Plymouth County. He's the one that pushes these issues and makes me find money to support his training, but in this particular case, it certainly paid off. I'm very proud of these people. They did a great job for the victim. He weighed almost 300 pounds. I didn't mention that. And you should be very proud of them, and they deserve a big round of applause, I think. In addition to that, Kevin Bliss was also recently commended by myself, a commendation that did not come over here, but he was recently commended by myself for responding while he was off duty and rendering aid at a very serious automobile accident. He had just got relieved from duty and was near his home and arrived before medical support or any public safety people were there, and immediately started patient assessment, et cetera, et cetera. So Kevin received another commendation. One more thing that needs to be talked about, and I'm sure you're aware that the Linden Ponds people were gracious enough to help us in our upgrade of our radio system. That allows us to pick and choose how our radios work and where the signals come from, et cetera, et cetera. Very, very simple, a simple explanation. Because of the fact that the incident was near Linden Ponds, we were able to switch to that radio system. And the radio system, along with everything else, worked flawlessly. So, again, I want to thank these people. I'm very proud of them, and they did the town a good turn.
Thank you, Chief. Laura, does that like to?
Well, I think that the chief said everything that there is to be said, but we're very proud to have you here today. We're proud to commend you on television so that the people watch this, you know. You laugh, but it makes me very proud to be able to send the word out into the community about what wonderful resources we have, what talent and dedication our firefighters have, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of the town of Hingham for all the work you do to prepare for the call that we hope never comes. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. I also want to echo those sentiments as well as the fact that the leadership needs to be congratulated as well, because Chief Duff does a good job letting the town know what it needs in order to keep a good fire department up and running, and he does it year after year, and he does a great job. So you
Thank you,
and your
John.
team, I'd like to say thank you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you all,
You
gentlemen.
guys have anything to say?
Yeah.
Smith.
Okay, we'll continue along. At this point, we ask if there's any questions from the public that are not on the agenda that people would like to bring to our attention or ask questions about. Sir, could you come to the microphone so the people at home can see you as well as hear you?
Sure.
Sure.
This is not a question, but it's a,
Identify yourself for the record.
yes. My name is Ron Clough. I'm a longtime resident of the town, very active in Bear Cove Park and areas down there, and a longtime employee of DCR, Department of Conservation and Recreation. 38 years, at least. Recently, I was presented with the Director's Supervisor of the Year Award, which is only one person gets this a year. So in this town, we have what I'm going to say, the best supervisor of DCR in the whole Commonwealth, living and residing. And it was a surprise to me, and I'm very honored to receive this, and I think you should know that. So that's all I have to say.
Very good.
Congratulations, Ron. And thank you for your longtime volunteer service to our town, and to our parks here in our town. It's much appreciated.
Okay, we do have some minutes to approve.
I'll move to approve the minutes of March 31st, April 22nd, April 25th, May 3rd, and May 16th, 2011.
And I'll second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next, we'd like to start a process of having hearings on grantor locations for the National Grid to install gas mains on a number of streets here in Hingham. So if people from National Grid as well as the Department of Public Works to join us, that would be good. So, if you could introduce
Good
yourself
evening,
for
my name is
everybody.
Dennis Regan, and I'm the permit representative from National Grid. With me tonight is our Director of Community Relations, Peter Nagel. And I think we're gonna start with Cole Road.
Okay,
National Grid respectfully requests your consent to install and maintain approximately 300 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Cole Road in Hingham. From the existing 3-inch gas main in Fearing Road easterly to Academy Lane, and approximately 160 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Academy Lane from Cole Road northerly to the Derby Academy building.
okay. Mr. Sylvester from the Department of Public Works, is there anything you'd like to add or bring to our attention?
Notice as far as Cole Road goes, the main is aged main, 94 years old, and has a leak history, and we're anxious to get it replaced as National Grid is.
Okay, and Laura, is there something like that?
Yeah, this is a replacement, correct? And, yeah, and I know that the residents of Cole Road have been working on this for quite some time, so I'd like to thank National Grid for your cooperation with the residents, and glad to see this is gonna get done.
Now, I'm assuming that you've read the requirements of the
Yes.
Department of Public Works, and
Yes, we have.
is there anything on there that you'd like to bring to our attention or that you don't agree with?
Mr. Sylvester hold us to very high standards of restoration, and we'll continue to work with him to accomplish that.
Okay, good. Anybody in the audience from Cole Road would like to say anything or ask a question at this time? Sir, could you come to the microphone and,
Joe Lenahan, I live at 17 Cole Road, and I spoke to Mr. Regan on...
excuse me, sir, can you come to the front? Yeah, they,
We can hear you, but the people watching on television at home can't hear
Oh,
you.
geez. Okay, my name is Joe Lenahan, I'm on 17 Cole Road, and I have gas in my house. I'm not quite sure where it comes in, and I spoke to Mr. Regan last week on the phone to try to get that figured out. It was my impression that the gas comes in under the road, which is an extension of Cole Road. It's a private lane, and from the diagrams, they were gonna replace the pipe to the corner of Academy Lane and Cole Road, take a left-hand turn and go down Academy Lane. What I would like to know is, where does my line come off the gas line? And if in fact it's in front of my house, is this a 94-year-old pipe that's not being included in the upgrade?
In our second phone call, I explained to you that the gas service comes directly out of your home, out into the private way section of Cole Road. And I also explained to you that we were going to relay that main in the 1.5-inch bare steel main in the private way when we discovered that it was there.
Okay, so this diagram is not updated, and
When this was originally, our original maps indicate that there's a 1.5-inch bare steel service. So it never showed up on our maps. But in looking at it further, this service over the years had been used to tie into other existing homes. And once a gas service ties into more than one home, it becomes a main. So that's why I indicated to you on the phone that when this is discovered, our intention is to relay that 1.5-inch main in the private way of Cole Road.
how far down the private lane?
I believe it's gonna relay it to the extent that it would just be main, so every house would have just a service of it.
So are you aware of which houses have service?
Yes, yes, sir.
Could you let us know that?
Well, they will let you know that. I don't have.
Who is they?
When we go out, when our foreman goes out, when they arrive at where these 3 mains are tied in together, they will know how far they're gonna go, and they will touch base with each resident.
Okay, that's
Mr. Lenahan, is your house on the map here?
17, yep.
Okay. Mr. Reagan, is it your understanding that, that the service to 17 will be updated along with?
Our
everything?
records indicate that a gas service runs directly into number 17 from which was once considered an inch-and-a-half gas service. And I don't think it was the first service put in off that main. I think that inch-and-a-half main ran down the street to a house, and over the years, it was simply tied onto to put gas into these houses. Now
So,
it's a main, it's on a private way, and our intention is to relay it.
okay, so in fact, it will go further down than is indicated
As far
on
as
this
it needs
map?
to be, yes.
Oh, okay.
So,
Does that clarify it?
That clarifies it. Second question is, will the entire road be replaced, or do you plan on just cutting the
Well,
road and patching it?
Usually the trench is 15 to 18 inches wide, and we normally, in working with Mr. Sylvester on his roads, put the roads back together. Like I said, he holds us to very high standards of backfilling, and they'll be put back exactly the way we started with them.
Okay, let me just pick that point a bit. Will there be a patch, or will the entire surface of the road be reconstituted?
At this point, I don't know.
Mr. Sylvester, do you have an answer to that?
Historically, the town doesn't approve gas main or gas services on private ways, on private properties. However, the gas company has been holding to the same standard of road repairs that we hold to them on town roads as on private roads. I believe the private portion isn't in the greatest of shape. So they'll probably try to get away with as limited of a trench patch as they would in a public way. Any damage occurred outside that, they would have to repair. As a courtesy to all residents that live on a private way, we do inspect that work as well as what's done on the town right-of-way, and we notify the gas company if we're not satisfied with that type of work.
So are you essentially telling me you're gonna put a patch rather than resurface the road?
More than likely, that's probably what will happen, but the extent of that patch remains to be seen until work starts, and then we'll see how well they can do their work and how neatly, and that will be
And what about Cole Road?
Cole Road, there'll be just a trench patch.
So you're gonna take a nicely surfaced road and leave a permanent patch up the middle of it?
Cole Road, as well as Burdette, Fairing, Cottage, Ship, and Miles are scheduled for reconstruction possibly as early as next year. So, you know, the trench patch is very consistent. We can't, you know, put road repairs and paving on the gas companies, you know, bill. They wouldn't feel too.
well, you know, what that does, it allows the, if he's saying it's gonna be maybe reconstructed next year, that would allow the trench to, if there's gonna be any settlement, that would happen within the first year. And then with the reconstruction, you would not have to worry about any settlement.
They wouldn't be carrying that down the private way, though, would they, a year from now?
No, that
Probably
isn't
not.
planned. I do want to add that if you had paved your driveway recently, you inquired about replacing that gas main at 94 years old, it would probably feel differently if the main had to be replaced after you had a freshly paved roadway within 2 or 3 years. But being it's an aged driveway, I don't think that they'd be willing to jump too far ahead and do more than they disturb.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions, if I may. Do you need to amend this request from 300 feet to be more in terms of
I don't
Cole
believe
Road?
so, because it's a private way.
Okay,
Correct. We don't grant them the
all right,
location.
all
I
right, yeah.
spoke with Mr. Sylvester about that.
Okay. And the other question is, can these residents expect to be given a new service? And if so, how is that gonna be done?
What do you mean, the existing residents?
Yeah, the
That's on
existing.
a, that's
the
on a
exist-
case-by-case basis as they go to tie over each service.
Mhm.
It's either reconnected, relayed, or inserted. But it's made safe at every service and tested.
Okay, so they'll test the existing pipe and.
Yes,
And that will determine whether there's gonna be a new service installed?
yes. Like I said, in some cases it's relayed, in some cases it's just tied over, and in other cases it's inserted.
So So how does one determine the age of the pipe going into the house? Is it, do you have records
I
of
think
that?
it wouldn't
or-
be the age of condition, it would be it would be the condition of the pipe.
Okay,
And, if possible, they'll try to insert so then we have all plastic.
yeah, I mean, it would make sense at that point.
And
We
in some,
have
and in
everything
some
opened
cases,
up.
they'll move the meter from inside to outside. But it's
Yes.
every house, every service is taken on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Chairman, even though that this work is performed in a private way, we request they fill a permit out, although we don't charge for the permit, just to make sure we have a record of it, and then we have an inspection, follow on after their work does. And they've always been cooperative as far as repairing any, trenches that needed repair.
Okay, good. Sure, absolutely. Come to the microphone if you would, sir.
Not tripping too badly. Hi, my name is Robert Gibbs. I live at 81 Fearing Road, which is the corner of Cole Road and Fearing Road. And just for the fun of it, I'm going to tell you the gas company records aren't always up to date, because 5 years ago I had a near tragedy at my house when I had some work being done, and they said, "Oh, go ahead and do the work. There's no gas line there." Well, it turned out I ended up with National Grid and all the emergency teams and the fire department there when the gas was leaking into my house, because it was a 94-year-old connection, and the the gas company lost those records. DigSafe said never any gas service, which was incorrect. I just wanted to take a shot at it. Okay. No big deal. On Cole Road, there are two brand-new lots of land that are being sold now. And maybe they'll get maybe they'll tap into your gas lines, maybe they won't. But what are you gonna do about water service up Cole Road to those houses? Are you gonna have to dig up Cole Road once again when these lots are built upon?
That question's for me, not for the gas company.
Well, I know it is. Well, you're together. You guys can work it out.
Well, whoever's, developing the property has to inquire with Aquarium Water regarding that gas line. And we'll be sending notices out in regards to the reconstruction of that neighborhood. And it'll be up to the developer and Aquarium Water to get a hold of our office and notify us of their plans.
Well, I would assume it would happen within this next year, because one lot, as I understand, has already been sold, and the other one is somewhere in negotiation. And it would just seem to me that you have to be alert to the fact you're gonna be cutting another trench up that road to deliver water.
Well, they won't be if we reconstruct the road, I can assure you that for 5 years. However, we do remain flexible on our schedule. If someone came before us and said that, they have plans of, concrete plans of putting a water main in or extending a sewer main, which has been done in that neighborhood a number of times in the last couple of years, we would delay our construction plans for another period of time, the following construction season and so forth. In fact, the gas company didn't have in their budget to do all the work up in that neighborhood this year, so we've postponed the work for another year. And
Yeah.
they've been willing to get as much gas main replacement as they possibly can before that happens.
Okay, good. Well, the point is, those two lots are up for sale, and I understand one of them been sold, and I would assume they want water to be brought up there somehow. So you'll be faced with that problem.
Well, it will be up to the developer or the builder or whoever buys the house to make sure they have all utilities, not just the water come up to their property line outside the
Yeah.
paved service of the road.
Okay, I was just trying to, figure out whether these two things could be done in conjunction with one another so that you're not digging up the road a second time within the next year.
Well, the Aquarium Water Company being a private water company, we have very little impact. We can make recommendations, and I'm sure that they're, they have some kind of idea what's going on down there with, hopefully.
Well, I'm just providing you information in this case. Well, thank you. I have nothing else to add or subtract.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbs. Anybody else in the audience like to make a comment or ask a question? Well, if not, I'll ask for a vote.
I'll move to approve the grant of location request of National Grid to install and maintain approximately 300 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main at Cole Road from the existing 3-inch gas main at Fearing Road in an easterly direction to Academy Lane excuse me, and approximately 160 feet more or less of 2-inch gas main in Academy Lane from Cole Road northerly to the Derby Academy to replace and abandon the existing 1.5-inch gas mains in Cole Road and Academy Lane. This approval is subject to the stipulations of the Department of Public Works.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Our next road would be Cross Street. Sir, I'm sorry, once again.
Joe Lanahan, 17 Cole Road. The problem that I brought up, would you read that into the record as an official modification of their plans, or do we just rely on the gas company and Mr. Sylvester to do that on site?
Well,
Does this have any authority?
our jurisdiction stops at the line where it becomes a private way.
We can't grant locations
Okay.
in streets that don't belong to the town. You have to grant it if you own the private way.
Yeah.
You
You-
have to tell them to come in and dig.
Yeah, you and your neighbors would have to get together, whoever is on the street as well. And that agreement would be, have to be between yourselves and the gas company, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, it sounded like, from what he said, that he plans to do
Yeah.
that, but our job is to grant permission to dig in the public
Okay,
streets.
so you need to come to us and get permission to do anything on the private lane.
Well, we have counsel here from the National Grid, correct?
I'm not counsel.
Oh, you're not counsel?
No, but,
Why don't you
as I
come,
understand it.
can you come to the microphone, please?
Sure,
And identify yourself, please?
sure. Peter Nagel from National Grid, and for private ways where the gentleman has reached out to us requesting that work be done, that can be a de facto approval, at least for that 17, I believe you're on the corner of the two, Academy and,
Yeah, diagonally, yeah.
but we'd reach out to your neighbors as well,
Yep.
to get a bare minimum of verbal
Well,
on that.
Yeah, just for clarification, it is my understanding that I own half that road. My
Correct.
neighbor across the street owns the other half. Where the pipe goes, I'm not sure. So, I mean, you need more than just me to reach
Correct.
out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Well,
thanks.
I guess one thing you'd want to take into consideration is any future upgrades of an existing water main, or maybe the possibility of a sewer main coming up there at some point in time. So you don't want to put that pipe where it might have a conflict in the future. Correct?
And that's for you homeowners
For
to
you homeowners
discuss.
to discuss,
Okay, thanks.
okay? Okay, if you would, Cross Street.
Okay. National Grid respectfully request your consent to install and maintain approximately 300 feet more or less of 2-inch gas main in Cross Street in Hingham, from the existing 4-inch main in High Street northerly to the existing 4-inch main at house number 14, all of which to replace and abandon the existing 2-inch gas main in Cross Street.
Okay, Mr. Sylvester.
That job was started last Thursday. There's an extensive leak history there. There's an active leak at the present time being addressed by the crews of National Grid. So we gave them the decision to go in to start that job ahead of time. I agree with the locations that where they're going to put it and what they're going to do, and we're monitoring that job as we speak.
Okay, Laura, is there anything you'd like to ask?
No questions?
And once again, you've read the specifications, the
I've read it.
requirements, and you're okay with that?
They've been agreed to, yes.
Okay, good. Does anybody in the audience like to ask a question or make a comment, sir? If you could, to the microphone.
My name is George Gormley, and I live at 42 High Street. I would say about Thursday or so, I received a letter in the mail, a notice of this hearing. And the brevity of the notice period caused me to raise an eyebrow, if you will. And I looked at the diagram, and I determined that I would come here this evening. This morning, as I left my home, Cross Street was closed and there was active construction going ahead, which prompted me to call the Selectmen's office and find out about this novel procedure that do the work, come to the hearing afterwards. And I did receive a call from somebody in the Department of Public Works after I spoke with a person at the Selectmen's office who was very helpful. And there was some question about, or there was some statement about this ongoing repaving or something of this nature. And I think in view of the convoluted notice and then construction going on, that I just would like to hear a little bit more than the rather brief presentation that that has been given on this.
What would you like? My understanding is that the digging began, as Mr. Sylvester said, because there was a leak. So it's when there's a matter of public safety, in general, the Department of Public Works tells the gas company to go ahead and fix it. And that was why it got started ahead. Is there any other question you have about the procedure?
If there's a fire, the fire department comes. They don't put a notice in here and we don't schedule a hearing. If there's a leak, the gas company comes and fixes it. They don't send notice out, which is the notice that I received. I mean, there are plans and et cetera. So I don't really understand the relationship between the notice and the leak.
I'm going to presume that when the leak was looked into, it was determined that more needed to be done than just fixing a leak, and that may have led to the decision to replace that much of the main. Perhaps you can.
The gas main in question is a 75-year-old main with a leak history. There's also some active leaks up there. The gas company, put it on a replacement schedule this spring. In light of the fact of the leak history and the active leak, instead of sending repair crews up there, it made more sense to get the main replaced at this time, and instead of bringing repair crews in to fix the leak, then come in 2 weeks later and replace the main. So we're trying to get that work, expedite the work, and get it done with less crews and a quicker result and more safer result.
Were you the person who called me today?
Yes, I was.
Okay. You were telling me that there's ongoing road repaving scheduled, and it had to do with...
I also said we are also scheduled to repave that road this year, and it was also a factor of hoping that we get that work done so we could get our paving schedule in line. But the priority was to replace the decayed old gas main, which I did, explain to you this afternoon when I called.
I understood from your telephone call that there was a leak there, but that the reason that the construction was going on in advance of the notice, in advance of the Selectmen's hearing, was to accommodate the town's repaving schedule.
No, not entirely, no. I apologize if you misunderstood me, but that wasn't the main gist of my discussion with you. There's an active leak up there now. I believe it's a grade 1 leak. It's being vented to, so it won't be a safety issue at this present time. And there was currently leaks before they went in. And there's a long leak history in that gas main, which is 75 years old.
Okay, thank you.
And I can say that I've been sitting here for 5 years. This is the first time that the procedure has gone the way it has gone. Usually we have the hearing and get public comment before we allow the street to be opened up. This is the first time in 5 years I've ever seen that happen, so. It's not something that we do on a...
I would think that the whole system is organized to do it exactly the opposite of what has happened here. Just the rush to get this done was something that was a concern, and that's why I determined that I would appear as I had originally intended when I received the notice. But if both of the reasons are laid out here, then that's fine. I mean, the other gentleman, the previous speaker on the other case, talked about some gas company event that occurred over at his property, and it just is the rush to get this done was a concern, so. But it's on the record as to what has prompted it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, sir. Anybody else would like to make a comment or ask a question? Okay, Laura, if I could have a motion?
I'll move to approve the grant of location request of National Grid to install and maintain approximately 300 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Cross Street from the existing 4-inch gas main in High Street, northerly to the existing 4-inch gas main at house number 14, all of which is to replace and abandon the existing 2-inch gas main in Cross Street. This approval is subject to the stipulations of the Department of Public Works.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Our next street would be Governor Andrew, and you're gonna do that together with Governor Long Road, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
National Grid respectfully requests your consent to install and maintain approximately 1,360 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Governor Andrew Road from the existing 2-inch gas main at house number 11, Governor Long Road, westerly to the existing 2-inch gas main at house number 40, Governor Andrew Road, and approximately 110 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Governor Long Road from Governor Andrew Road southerly to house number 22, Governor Long Road, all of which to replace and abandon the existing 2-inch gas mains in Governor Andrew Road and Governor Long Road in Hingham.
Thank you. Mr. Sylvester?
The work has to be done, and we're in agreement on what, the road repairs, and hopefully we'll get started on that one when they finish another one.
Okay. Laura, is there anything you'd like to ask?
Nope. I'm just relying again on Mr. Sylvester to hold those high standards for us.
I do have a question on this particular area. This has a fair amount of what they call clay underneath the street up there. Now, is it your intention to remove that clay and put suitable fill back in there so we don't experience settlement for a long period of time?
Whatever Mr. Sylvester has to offer as far as our backfilling and resurfacing recommendations will be followed.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody in the audience would like to make a comment or ask a question? Sir?
Hi, my name is Chris Morrissey. I live at 30 Governor Andrew Road. I just had a couple questions for Mr. Regan. You had mentioned on the previous road that the individual services would either be inserted, relayed, or what was the third?
Or reconnected.
Or reconnected.
Yes.
Okay, so my assumption would be then that would determine, those patches across the street then. So trenches to individual houses may be required?
Yes.
Okay, and that would probably go a long way to determining what the resurfacing of the road would be, I would
Well,
assume.
that would be taken care of along with the recommendations of Mr. Sylvester.
Okay,
as
so
far
it could
as
be on an individual house-by-house basis?
Yes,
whether
but oftentimes with existing services, the easiest formula is to insert that,
Okay.
okay?
And the other question I had was just about disruption of service, how we get notified, what we anticipate lengths for that to be, and...
What, the job length?
Yeah, or just for, whether we, on an individual house, whether we'll have gas that day or for that
It would be a
period.
very short period of time when you would be,
Okay.
bypasses are run. First of all, they put all the new gas main in.
Okay, and then
Without gas in
connect
it ahead of time, and that's all tested ahead of time. And then, once that tests out, then they'll work the way the street, tying over, relaying, or inserting a handful of houses each day and notifying each customer as they do it.
Okay, and there's...
Anybody has to get in and out of their property. The contractors that are working for us have steel plates that if the trench happens to be open for an hour or so in front of the driveway,
Yep.
the steel plate will be installed, and anybody will be able to get in and out of their driveway during the construction. And
Okay, and I'm just more concerned about the disruption of gas itself, so that,
Very, very little, if any. They'll, not a day, it'll be maybe like a half an hour or so
Okay.
while they're tying it over.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. And we'd be notified of that
Yes.
time? Okay.
They'll be working with it. They'll be there every day.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I might want to add that Governor Andrew, Governor Long is also on the construction schedule for this construction season. And we will send out plan notices prior to start of work.
And that schedule is what, a year from now? Is that
That'll
what-
be this construction season.
Okay, so it behooves us to make sure that there is suitable fill put back in this.
Absolutely.
This trench.
That's a requirement.
Okay, very good. Okay, anything else, Laura? Would you like to ask any questions? Sir?
Jack Sullivan, 26 Governor Andrew. A couple quick questions. Any idea what the schedule is, when you may be replacing, digging up the street and doing the work?
Once, if we're able to get the grant, then we will apply for a permit from the town of Hingham. And when that happens, then we'll know what the schedule will be. As soon as we possibly can. I know that they want to get this work done.
Because I know at my property, there is I'm not sure, a low-grade leak. You've been out to inspect it and said it was never severe enough to replace, but there is something there.
Okay, so that's being monitored?
Not, only when we call, but we do smell gas at the,
Okay, well,
so the fire department's been out and other people have been out. So there is a sense of urgency to,
well, if the leagues,
it's my wife. When I say urgent, I mean, it's not a life or death situation.
Does not have to come out tonight.
I'm not,
well, grade 2 leaks and grade 3 leaks are constantly monitored. They're constantly driven over at night. They constantly drive over them to check them, and then they have to be done, repaired in a certain amount of time. But we'll be doing this construction season and sooner rather than later.
And is it my understanding you'll do dig the trench the whole lane to the street and then worry about the repatching or repaving?
They contractors that relay gas mains for us anywhere from 80 to 120 or 160 feet a day, and that's backfilled every day. And they don't do the finished paving till the end. But there'll be a coat of rough paving over it until the job's completed.
And Dig Safe will come back out and redo all the markings prior to construction?
Yeah.
They were out, yeah,
Yes.
okay.
There'll be pre-marks out there. There's probably pre-marks out there now.
There were some, but they've worn off. They were done a year ago. The last question, at the end of my driveway, well, I shouldn't say at the end, but in my driveway, I have a French drain, a manhole that was necessary to control the water off the property. There won't be any.
Everything will be put back exactly the way it is when they're backfilling and repaving.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am?
Yeah, because I didn't ask enough. Sue Sullivan, 26 Governor Andrew Road. And I'm actually just looking here, a question about the paving. I know you said you're going to backfill every day and all, and this construction season, meaning this year before winter, we're going to repave the whole street.
Well, it's gonna be more than repaving, it's gonna be
Right.
reconstruction.
Right, okay, which is a huge job. The question is there any way we can get anything from the gas company if they don't completely redo the roadway, that we can get money back from them to do some of the work for the town? See, this is
Well, we have worked out some deals in the past, and I'm sure we'll be looking to work out some type of deal this year if we hold the road repairs to a minimum. We had some preliminary discussions, and we're hoping to, allow the gas company to go in there sooner than later. There's no definitive schedule as yet, but you can probably expect work in the next couple of weeks over there.
Oh, great, so the hope is that as soon as they're done, the road reconstruction starts.
Well, it won't be that quick, because there's another piece of gas main in the neighborhood that has to be replaced also.
Okay, but great, it's this year, it's wonderful, thank you.
Well, if we live in a perfect world, this will happen this year, okay? We've waited a long time.
Go up and say it again.
Anybody else, sir?
Dave Oberhauser, 26 Governor Long Road. It's not quite clear from the diagram that Governor Long Road will be fully replaced with a continuous gas line, hoping the Governor Andrew take off and return.
No, they're just doing a very short piece in Governor Long Road.
Okay, does that run continuously from where it takes off at Governor Andrew over Governor Andrew?
I don't have that map with me.
Okay.
Okay, all I have with me for the map is the the part that we're looking for.
2.5 years ago, I was contacted from National Grid in New York, and I was told that the line was not continuous along the front there. And it seems kind of strange way to put in a line, but
I could check for you tomorrow. I could meet with you afterwards and get your name and number and check
Okay.
and find out for you exactly what, I just don't have that stuff with me.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you, sir. Anybody else would like to make a comment or ask a question? Sir?
Chairman, may I approach just for 1 second to answer?
Sure,
a couple of
absolutely.
questions or elaborate a little bit further? if I may?
Absolutely.
You know, if you'd like to pull up a chair and sit at the table and, so that you can answer as we go along, that's fine.
The gentleman who asked about the notification, prior to the project, we'll send out abutter letters notifying the scope of work and the time frame with a point of contact for Hingham. It'll be my name and number, email address. You and I can converse, or anybody who receives that letter, or anyone after this meeting, I'd be happy to give them the cards. To the gentleman over here relative to the French drain, again, you and I can converse. I'll let our folks know. And if anyone else has these issues or any sort of yard structures, if you will, it's always better to let me know, let any of the contractors know beforehand. You're not bothering them, they'd love to know about it, to minimize any need for, as Mr. Regan said, we would replace in kind and as it existed prior to, if there were any inconvenience to that. So,
Okay, thank you, sir.
yep, excuse me, thank you.
Well, that's fine. And anybody else would like to make a comment, ask a question? Okay, Laura, can you make a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the grant of location request of National Grid to install and maintain approximately 1,360 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Governor Andrew Road from the existing 2-inch gas main at house number 11 in Governor Andrew Road, and approximately 110 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Governor Long Road from Governor Andrew Road southerly to house number 22, Governor Long Road, all of which is to replace and abandon the existing 2-inch gas mains in Governor Andrew and Governor Long Roads. This approval is subject to the stipulation of the Department of Public Works.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving right along, Kilby Street.
National Grid hereby respectfully requests your consent to install and maintain approximately 280 feet more or less of 2-inch gas main in Kilby Street, Hingham, from the existing 6-inch gas main in East Street northerly to house number 4, all of which to replace and abandon the existing 2-inch gas main in Kilby Road.
Okay. Mr. Sylvester?
They applied previously, last October, for a grant location in Kilby Street, which was for 90 feet. This is an extension for that original request, up to 280 feet, if, I don't know if you recall that. But we have no issues with it. They're agreeing to abide by all the regulations, and look forward to their work over there.
And for the public's information, this is be on the south side of Route 3A towards East School. Laura, is there anything you'd like to ask her?
No.
In my standard question, you've read the specifications of the Department of Public Works, and you agree with them?
We do.
Okay. Anybody in the audience like to ask a question or make a comment? Okay.
I'll move to approve the grant of location request of National Grid to install and maintain approximately 280 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Kilby Street. This proposed main will originate from an existing 6-inch main at the intersection of East Street and continue in a northerly direction to completion at house number 4. This petition is an amended request that was initially heard and approved in October 2010 for the installation of 90 feet of 2-inch gas main at number 4 Kilby Street. This approval is subject to the stipulations of the Department of Public Works.
And I'll second that. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And our last street would be Thayer Street.
National Grid hereby respectfully requests your consent to install and maintain approximately 460 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Thayer Road, Hingham, from the existing 2-inch gas main in Elm Street southerly to house number 4, all of which to replace and abandon the existing 1.5-inch gas main in Thayer Street.
Mr. Sylvester. Mr. Sylvester. any-
Again, gas main is in need of replacement, and
House number 17.
It should be house number 17. I believe it was wrong on the map.
Oh, okay. So we want to change from House 4 to House 17 on our vote, which it is. Okay. Hold on one second, sir. We'd like to, Mr. Sylvester, is there anything you'd like to add?
no, just that this gas main has had a leak history, and it is an aged main, and we'd be anxious to get it replaced as soon as possible.
Okay. Laura?
Well, I did receive an email from a resident of Elm Street, across from Thayer Street, who expressed concern about the level of repair and the noise that might be generated by cars going over a road that had been poorly patched. So I assured him that the Department of Public Works holds the gas company to very high standards, and it would be great. So just thought I would pass that along to you.
Well, we'll concede that once a road is cut, it's never the same. However, we
I-
will stay on to make sure
I
it's
me- I
the
mentioned
smoothest
that.
transition possible.
Yeah, okay. I just thought I would pass, he asked me to pass that along.
Okay. Mr. Mahoney?
I'm Francis Mahoney, 11 Thayer Street. And the first thing I'm here to do is to heartily endorse the whole idea. We've had, as Mr. Sylvester said, Thayer Street has had so many leaks that there's more patch than there is street. And that brings me to the point that my question is, because it's been patched so many times, we know exactly where the line lays, and it's excuse me, I live on the side of the street, the west side on which the line is laid, and the plan shows a 3-foot plus or minus distance from center line of the old pipe to the new center line of the new pipe. I don't believe there's 3 feet of and the letter says that the new line will be laid under the paved way, and I don't think there is 3 feet, or it's just barely 3 feet. If there is, it varies with the side of the street, but there is not room. The question, I think, is why can't you lay new pipe in the old trench or in the same trench with the old pipe? Can that be done?
Ideally, we try to relay the main as close as we can to the existing main, unless there is reasons why we shouldn't.
Okay. Well, the drawing says 3 feet plus or minus.
Yes.
Well, I realize that 0 is minus 3, but in other words, you're not going to try. If you do leave 3 feet, you'll be tearing up some of the grass areas, and I don't mind you tearing up the grass areas but having to patch is. I think if possible, you would lay it right in as close as possible to the.
That's what happens in most cases. Before the job is started, on a job like this, there'll be test holes dug.
Yeah.
Until they have firmly in place the location of the old gas main, okay, which you say everybody knows,
Well,
which is fine.
you
but
can drive down
either
Thayer
end,
Street,
and then
and follow the patches out of the street.
We'll
so.
try to put this new plastic gas main as close as they can to the old pipe, because it's a lot more convenient for them to do it that way too, in tying over the services.
Yeah. Well, I'm very I had heard, because I've been concerned about, because we've had odors of gas and constantly patching. I'd heard that they were going to that you have a program, and I think the program is good. Most of the pipes in Hingham originally were laid a long time ago, and I'm glad that they're proceeding in an orderly way, and we're glad to have Thayer Street done. I was concerned about access to my driveway, and you said that they will put a plate down because I have only one pedestrian and automobile access. So, thank you very much.
I'd like to add that we would prefer the gas main be installed under the paved surface for a variety of reasons. One is that If it's in the grass strip, any work that we do, putting in a street sign, a snow marker, planting a tree, would all have to be done by hand. It would be very time-consuming and labor-intensive. If it's done on the paved surface, we wouldn't have, we wouldn't be able to hit that with a shovel or putting a snow marker in with a sledgehammer. And the paved surface would protect the gas main a lot more rigid than the landscape area. So that's one thing we'll be looking at to make sure that if we can, at all costs, get it under the paved surface.
Anybody else in the audience like to ask a question or make a comment? Harry, are either these, Kilby Street or Thayer Street, are they scheduled for any reconstruction in the next year or so, or?
Not at this time.
Not at this time, okay. Okay, thank you. Laura, would you like to make a motion?
Yes. I'll move to approve a grant of location request of National Grid to install and maintain approximately 460 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Thayer Street, from the existing 2-inch gas main in Elm Street southerly to house number 17, all of which is to replace and abandon the existing 1.5-inch gas main in Thayer Street. This approval is subject to the stipulations of the Department of Public Works.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much for the most exciting grants of location request we've had in a long time.
Perhaps you can consider the next vote when Mr. Sylvester is still here.
Yeah, Mr. Sylvester, there's a contractor to be signed that we wanted to get your input in before we see you leave for the evening.
Yes, sir.
Contract with the Highway Safety Systems.
That's correct.
I was gonna wait until we get this cleared out a little bit. Okay, we have a request to sign a contract for a safety system. Is there something you could fill us in on?
I just inform you that they've been painting in this town for several years under contract from the consortium. There's a new consortium contract. We send supervision with them. All the painting is done at night. We use a latex or an oil-based paint. I know that you, as well as everyone else in town, notices it doesn't last a long time, especially through the winter. That's been a condition that has happened since they removed lead from paint. The only other alternative would be to use a thermoplastic paint, and that doesn't go on existing pavement very well, and even I'm skeptical as far as putting it on fresh pavement and for the cost of thermoplastic paint and the risk of not having it stay in place very long. We generally stick with a normal oil-based or latex paint. We generally do about $70,000 worth of painting, all crosswalks, stop bars, center lines, gore markings and the like, and they do handle it all with a long line truck or a hand crew.
Okay. Could you give us, do you have a general sense of what this contract's worth, money-wise?
It's about $70,000.
$70,000, okay. My other question is, has there been any more discussion with regard to the red, white, and blue stripe on Main Street, or is it?
We don't have an answer, we don't have an answer yet from council on that.
Okay.
We get questions about that pretty much every 48 hours, just so you know.
Well, the history was, it was brought up by the 4th of July Parade Committee that, if we could do something about it last year after we got through paving it, and we knew we were going to resurface it with a resurfacing seal. So I agreed to put it down because I assumed it was just going to be temporary.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a big success, I can understand. You probably know how much of a success it was more than I do, but I guess we're in limbo at it right now, and I'll hold off with painting it double yellow until I get a confirmation, at least until the 4th of July.
Okay, thank you, Harry.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So, is there anybody out in the audience like to ask a question about this particular contract? Okay. Laura?
I'll move to sign a contract with Highway Safety Systems Incorporated for pavement markings.
Second. Hearing, any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Harry. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is a discussion on sustainable communities with Barry Capon of the MAPC. Would you like to join us? I thought maybe we could have Katie Lacy from the community planner also to join us at the.
I'm learning about this as well.
Okay, good.
I just apologize for running so late. We do not usually have discussion about grants of location, so that was a surprise. Sorry.
It's a learning experience too, so that's good.
So if you could introduce yourself, get comfortable, introduce yourself to the public, and
Sure.
And maybe you can fill us in on what a sustainable community involves.
Sure. My name is Barry Keppert. I'm a regional planner with the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. MEPC is also broken down into subregions, and I'm also the South Shore Coalition, the sub-regional coordinator for the South Shore, where Hingham is located. First off, thank you very much for having me out this evening. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Katie, for your assistance in being here tonight. And I also want to take the opportunity to recognize Marco Boer, who is the representative to the South Shore Coalition from Hingham, and he's always at all the meetings, and he's a great contributor. So I just want to let you know that he does a fantastic job, and let you know
Thank
that.
you.
You're welcome. I'm just going to hit some of the highlights of the Sustainable Communities Program, and then kind of open it up for discussion, and we can kind of flesh out any details that you're more interested in kind of through that discussion.
Okay, great.
Back in 2010, at the federal level, there was a coordinated effort between the United States Department of Transportation, Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, and the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, to begin to look at ways to really coordinate their efforts so that when transportation investments were being made, when housing and land use decisions were being made, when environmental decisions were being made, that there was more of a coordinated effort. And to bring that down to more of a local regional level, they made available regional planning grants, sustainable community grants. MEPC was a lucky recipient of one of these grants, in the amount of $4 million. And the main focus of the Sustainable Communities Grant that came to MEPC is to advance the Metro Future Regional Plan, the regional plan that MEPC has worked with communities throughout the greater Boston region to come together and really address kind of a sustainable, equitable, and kind of economically vibrant way to grow the region and grow the area. So really the focus of the Sustainable Communities Grant is to advance Metro Future. The way that's going to be done is through providing planning and local technical assistance to really advance some of those implementation goals around development, around preservation, around transportation investments, about housing, a lot of different issues involved in how towns and how municipalities grow. In addition to that, there's going to be regional and state policy work that's conducted, tools and best practices that, again, help towns, help municipalities deal with the issues that they're advancing and how they'd like to grow. But again, in a way that looks at what our natural resources are, look what our infrastructure needs are, and kind of does it in a thoughtful and respectful way. And also a capacity building element too will be in the grant. So there's a number of different things that are going to be hit upon, all the way from the planning work, all the way down to the capacity building of kind of personnel and the people that are in the region. The key part is that for municipalities and organizations to participate in the consortium, the Metro Boston Sustainable Communities Consortium, which is kind of the umbrella organization helping to steer the grant through MAPC, is that municipalities and organizations need to sign on to be part of the consortium. What that then does is give you access to applying for the technical and planning assistance, being part of the conversations and the learning experiences that would be coming out of this program. So really access to all those things that are going to be advanced through this program. What the sign-on really essentially asks for is to be aware of what the program is trying to do in terms of livability goals, the federal livability goals, thinking about regional issues as local decisions are being made, and kind of making a good faith effort in that regard. So what I came out tonight to do was to kind of talk to you about that and also encourage Hingham to sign on to the consortium, because one, as a sub-regional coordinator, but also as a regional planner, I think it's something that can provide a lot of benefit to the town going forward, even at just participating in the program, but to the maximum applying and looking to take advantage of some of the technical assistance opportunities. So I guess with that, I'd just like to open it up and just take your questions and discussion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Laura, would you like to?
Well, I have enjoyed when I've been able to come to the meetings of the South Shore Coalition. I haven't had time to do that for a couple of years, so I'm glad we've got Marco in there. He gives us a heads up whenever something comes through that we really need to be paying attention to. So we are hooked in. We are getting our feedback. I guess my biggest question is, if we sign on to be a member of the Sustainable Communities Coalition, aside from making us eligible from grants, which we're always glad to be eligible for, Is there anything else involved in being part of the consortium? And how would it be different from the efforts that we are involved with the MAPC?
It'll be kind of traveling a parallel path. They will have consortium meetings twice a year to kind of revolve around some of the key issues being addressed by the organization. The way the consortium is set up, it's set up into caucuses, not only through Metro Future, there are a set of community types that are identified: cities, regional urban centers, maturing suburbs, developing suburbs. So those caucuses will be having discussions, as well as topical caucus areas in terms of transportation, housing, the environment, regional prosperity. So there'll be a lot of opportunities, I think, that'll be provided in addition to what MAPC would be providing regularly: learning opportunities, capacity building and training. So it's really access to a lot of that, either information or on-the-ground learning that'll be happening through there. I think it's something essentially that'll serve as an add-on to what MAPC does regularly.
I see. I'd like to be at all of it. It's just so hard to find the time. But I guess the other question would be about the grant availability involves mostly regional planning efforts. If we were involved in, does it revolve around land use issues primarily?
There's,
Okay.
under the areas that are really providing the technical assistant part of it, there's a place-based aspect to it. So it's going to be looking at, for example, one area is really bicycle and pedestrian planning, looking at how that can be done well and efficiently and then replicated on a municipal level. Another one is looking at local and multi-municipal zoning and land use plans and how those things can be advanced. I think there will be some preference looked at how you can get neighboring municipalities to work together and coordinate planning efforts so that when that municipal boundary exists, you don't really you get some coordination, some consistency in terms of what's happening and some respect for what each other is doing. So those efforts will be advanced at the local level, but also really looking at ways that we can provide efficient, kind of replicable tools for municipalities to kind of assist in the efforts that great staff might be doing at the local level, but could get a little more information and resource.
And yes, I was just going to ask our
Well,
Director of Community Planning to pipe up.
I can't remember the name, but someone from MAPC did reach out to everyone and say, you know, we're looking for ideas to figure out how to shape this project. And I quickly wrote back and said, you know, sustainable wastewater treatment for a large commercial area, please. And they're interested. So, I mean, I think it's, you know, the Metro Futures is a very ambitious thing. And I think this is a way just to get, it's almost a come to Jesus thing, to get the people in the municipalities to go learn what, because it's a very complicated plan, and then bring those ideas back out to the community. I think that's a fair trade.
So, let me get this, if I may. What you're saying, this grant would be a group grant, is that?
It's not a grant.
Well, I mean, if one were to sign on to this and ask for a grant, is that something the town could do individually and maybe get a grant to help update our master plan, or is that not part of this?
I mean, I would say something like that would be potentially along it. Again, there might be more focus if you're looking at a planning effort that is looking at your town as well as adjacent towns. So beginning to kind of bring those things together. So there might be a little bit more of an emphasis on doing that in a coordinated effort, but providing something at the local level that helps in terms of where you see it going, where you want to accomplish your vision. To kind of clarify the grant part of it, the grant has come to MAPC, and then a majority of the work will be done through MAPC staff in terms of technical assistance. So you would apply for that assistance, for example, like a decentralized water treatment. That's something that's actually other communities are interested as well too. So that would be something that could be applied for, and then through MAPC's technical assistance, we'd come and work with you to kind of get to those ends.
And if other communities around us, such as, say, Norwell, Hull, Cohasset, Situate, decided to do more regionalization, is that something that we would be a benefit as well?
I believe so, yes. I
But
believe that is
in
something.
land use areas, that's what these grants are focused on, so.
But there are also on other elements too. There's a number of different kind of place-based categories, but I think those that tend to focus on looking at multi-municipal or multiple town layers will kind of show that coordinated effort and encourage more of those resources, I think.
Is there a public safety component?
I have to go back and look to be certain. I'm not sure, but I know at least through MAPC's government services, that's also a way to kind of reach outside of this program, but they're a good resource for that information as well.
I think that was sort of what I was trying to get to when I talked about the regionalization.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Was to the public safety aspect of trying to do more with less.
Yes, and that's actually, at the next South Shore Coalition meeting, someone from MAPC will be talking about regionalization. So it's a topic that the representatives to the coalition have brought up as well too, and that's something that we're looking to, independent of this effort, make sure it's a topic that's brought forward.
Katie, is there anything you'd like to?
Well, it did sound to me, in light of the solicitation for ideas, that part of the issue is that the program guidelines for how help would be distributed really haven't gelled yet.
Oh.
So they're getting their group together, they have the overall plan goals, but how they're gonna disseminate and distribute stuff, I don't think it's, am I correct?
You are correct, yes.
Yeah, so I think we'll know more.
Yeah.
In the future.
Mhm.
Yeah, there'll be selection criteria coming out when the request comes out for actual projects as
Right.
opposed to project ideas.
Right.
Yes.
So is this something that we need to vote in terms of?
To join
To join?
Is that what we're looking for here?
Is that what you're looking for?
I guess we're looking for the town to sign however the town feels appropriate to sign it. So if you'd like to take a vote, you can do that. And I think in the case of some other town, the administrator was empowered to do so.
Yeah.
So I think it's up to you, what you feel comfortable doing in terms of joining.
Okay, Ted, at this point, is there anything you'd like to ask or add?
No, other than, the obvious that it's an outstanding initiative, and I'd recommend that we do participate.
Laura, is there something you feel comfortable with Ted taking?
Yeah, sure. I would move to authorize the town administrator to sign Hingham up with the Sustainable Communities Initiative.
That is a motion,
That is a motion.
and I'll second it.
Anybody have any comments or questions?
Is there anybody who would like to make a comment? Carol?
What kind of technical assistance, could you give examples of like what Hingham might be able to get some of that grant money for, like what kind of things?
Yeah, like local municipal planning.
Like what kind, like these examples, like what some of those might be?
I'd say kind of potentially land use decisions and looking at land use development over time, specifically for transportation, bicycle, and pedestrian planning. If there's housing issues, I know housing is going to be a key part of it. So looking at if there's housing issues to be tackled, whether it be related to workforce housing or related to housing type, housing variety, those types of things. So they'll be tackled by some areas as well too. But I think a key part of it is that probably not all those things can be done here, but there's going to be a great opportunity to learn from a lot of that work that's being done in similar communities.
So all based on sustainability, things that are based on sustainability that they could get grants for, that would be the criteria, right, obviously?
For the most part, they're going to be guided by the goals in Metro Future, but especially by HUD's and DOT and EPA set out 6 livability goals that really that addresses issues of economic development, transportation, environmental protection.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Jessica?
What communities have signed on to this initiative already?
I think it's around 30-some communities, 30-some municipalities that have signed on within MAPC, ranging all the way from the city of Boston to down here. I believe Marshfield has, Cohasset has, Hull has, and it might be another 1 or 2 other communities in the South Shore who have signed on as well.
All set?
Are you soliciting for more in South Shore?
Yes, I'm going to continue to go around to the rest of the communities. I feel like it bolsters effort both for individual municipalities, but also for all the municipalities in the sub-region to be part of this.
Anybody else? Well, we do have a motion on the floor, and I'll second that. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
So, we'll have you
Turn it over to Ted.
turn it over to Mr. Alexiadis, and we'll go from there.
Sounds great. Well, thank you very much again for your
Thank
time.
you.
and
Thank you for
signing
coming
on
in.
this. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is the cable access contract with Jim Dellett and Eric Connolly, if I may. Gentlemen, would you like to join us?
Again, sorry about the delay, but we're catching up.
We're here.
Yeah.
I'm representing HCAM. I'm no longer representing Cable Advisory.
I'm Josh Gates. I'm representing the Cable Advisory Committee.
Okay.
And I'm Eric Connolly, also with Cable Advisory.
Okay, so why don't you give us an overview of what you're here for tonight. Who would like to speak?
Let me just make sure I understand, we're talking about, first item will be the contract with HCAM, is that, and this contract, this board, we have reviewed it, and we've gotten some comments incorporated from us, and then it went, the version that we had sort of reviewed went to the Hingham Cable, HCAM? Hingham Cable Access.
It's Hingham Community Access and Media Corporation.
Oh, Hingham Community
Not
Access
big
and Media
enough for the
Corporation.
people at home to see.
And the purpose of this contract is to set up an arrangement with this new nonprofit, the Hingham Community Access and Media Corporation, to deliver programming on our public broadcast, on our public access channel, our new public access channel that we have from Verizon and Comcast. And possibly also to help the town with our government and educational programming when it's appropriate. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
That's great. And very good on the HCAM for the first time. That was excellent.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure I understood where we were.
Yeah, Laura's
Turn it
been
over to them.
leading the Board of Selectmen on this, most of the discussions when it came to the cable TV, so I thank you for all that.
Well, you're welcome. I'm the
information.
liaison to the cable TV committee.
So, is there something more you'd
No,
like
and we're
to-
just here as a representative of the Cable Advisory Committee to give our recommendation upon review of this agreement. And also, we'd like to, there's a couple other items that we'd like to discuss as well, including the recommendation that the board approve the purchase of robotic cameras for the second floor meeting rooms, as well as additional replacement of equipment for the educational channel studio in Hingham High School. So 3 items really here that we're advising on.
Perhaps we could ask HCAM, they have proposed a couple of changes from the draft that we had sent to them, and maybe you could just go into what those are. Would that be a good way to proceed?
Yeah, the 16th, yeah, I do. Yeah, okay.
I have this nice little memo.
Yeah, I'm going to let Josh handle
Okay.
that.
Okay, so specifically, I don't know if there's something that you'd like to discuss specifically.
Well, it says the March 16th is the same as the one the selectmen reviewed in November 2010, with the exception of Section 4, which replaces Sections 4 and 5. And so if you could just summarize for us what the change in Section 4 amounts to that you made from the last draft.
With regards to the funding and
Yeah.
and how that's going to be sectioned off. So with regard to the funding, I know that we're,
Initially, we had proposed 80% be pledged to HCAM.
Mhm.
The revised draft has 70% pledged for HCAM in response to the concerns of the selectmen. Additionally, I think that any unspent monies revert to HCAM at the end of each fiscal year, if not spent for government or education, so that, all the monies are purposed towards programming on all the channels. Don't recall the other substantive changes. That was the main one,
I think that was the main one,
concern you
too,
had
I think.
raised.
Yeah, and it sets up quarterly payments.
Right.
Correct? Okay. So those are the main changes.
Yeah, because
Okay.
the town has not had an operating cable company since Verizon and Comcast shifted the burden to the town to produce programming. There's been a fair amount of money that's accumulated in the cable account that can only be pledged to programming. And so the additional money that will go to improving the robotic camera systems here and in the high school are going to be more than covered by the delayed money that would otherwise have gone to operate the public station.
I see. So the way that the contract is set up right now, we make the agreement, and that will start the clock ticking at that moment in terms of funds coming in from Verizon and Comcast from that point forward, correct?
The money's already coming in from Verizon and Comcast.
Yeah, I understand, but
It will
when we
just-
talk about 70%, we say 70% of what? And it would be the
Right.
funds that begin accumulating on the day that the contract is signed. Is that how we're looking at it?
That's right.
Okay. So the money that has accumulated is sitting in our current account, and that's where it will stay until spent. Is that,
Right, any unspent monies revert to
well,
HCAM.
well, unspent monies that are accumulate before the term of the contract, I don't,
We're gonna transfer in section 4, $500,000 to HCAM from the
Yeah.
town accounts.
Right.
That'll
Okay.
leave the residual of 168. That will stay there, that has to be spent. Question I have is, does that have to be spent by the end of this fiscal year? That's unlikely.
My understanding is no.
Okay. I heard you had said that has to be at the end of the fiscal year, anything, unspent proceeds are shifted over.
well, but this.
That would
other-
be just part of this agreement.
Yeah, this $168,000 was accrued before the term of this contract.
Correct.
So out of what's come before the term of this contract, we're gonna provide $500,000, which I assume you'll be using for your capital purchases, and then leave $168,000,
Right.
which is not in any way subject to the terms of this agreement. I have that
But
correct.
the future payments, and you estimate about $180,000 coming in within the next few years, that will have to be spent on an annual basis before the close of the fiscal year?
Or it will
Or it will
be
revert
turned
to
over.
HCAM?
Or revert to HCAM.
Okay.
In your request for additional equipment now from the advisory, is that something that would come out of the 168, or is that something that you would go to HCAM for in terms of funding?
That would come out of the 168.
That's
Either
for
the
government and
168 or the
educational, so
30%.
that comes out of we control the government and educational pot of money, which going forward will be 30% of what comes in every year, up to 30%. And if we don't spend all of that at the end of the year, they propose to send the money over to HCAM. Was the concern that perhaps we wouldn't be able to think up enough things to spend the money on, and you wanted to make sure it went to programming? Was that the notion?
The concern is that it just sits and piles up unused.
Well,
with
so
any-
far, that's
exactly what it's
that's
done, yeah.
what's been going on, so that seems like a reasonable concern.
So is there, at this point, is there a dollar value that the advisory is going to be requesting of the 168? Is that in a form of a request this evening?
Yes,
Yes, it
there's
is.
another,
Two requests, actually.
yeah,
Okay, I
they have
see.
two requests.
Two requests, I see, okay.
So one is for the second floor meeting room, and the other's for the
Oh, yeah,
education.
here,
Okay, so why don't we get those out of the way
That's-
first?
these requests?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we can
Okay.
speak to the larger issue. In,
And so I think that the second floor meeting room, if that's a place to start, I think as you can see in this room, the robotic cameras are definitely a kind of a quiet addition to the room where you don't even recognize that they're there. I think the fact that we were able to broadcast the presentation by the fire chief tonight, that a lot of people that weren't here today could see that, what a wonderful thing. The fact that these robotic cameras are here, I think, it allows a lot more presentations than you might be able to if you didn't have the resources, finding somebody to film, and you know that you're gonna have that available for more meetings. I think that that room lends itself to those types of cameras. And we've had an analysis done of that by Access AV, and they've looked at the room and given us a quote, which we provided here.
so that will be the two central meeting rooms downstairs?
Exactly, and those cameras could,
North and south, is it called? Right, okay.
those cameras could be used for the room as an entirety or separately, if there's.
Yeah, because we, at times, do have the joint meetings between the school committee, the advisory board, and the selectmen all in that particular room.
And, it would allow for, I know sometimes the MAPC, who were just here, sometimes they have great workshops on things like parking issues or water issues, and they're always well attended with people from other towns. They have them in our second floor meeting room. That would make it easy to actually record those presentations and put them on our public channel. A lot of good things happen down there that would be great if more people could see them.
And I believe that system also includes some sound
Exactly. The quote that we've provided is not just the cameras, right? It's the controller, multiplexer, and get into some of the details here, but yeah, the additional equipment needed to support that, those robotic cameras.
Okay, are you ready to make a motion on that
I
particular?
am. Anybody have any comments?
Is there anybody in the audience like to make a comment or ask a question before we make this vote?
Okay, I will move to authorize the Cable TV Advisory Committee to purchase robotic cameras and related equipment for the Town Hall Central Meeting Room at a cost not to exceed $24,835.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
And then we have a request for the educational channel.
So we have an additional recommendation to provide some equipment, and this is for the purchase of equipment described in attached budget for educational channel and I'm not gonna get into the price, obviously you have that, but, and this is for, if you notice, some of this equipment is actually, we talked about a great deal, whether or not we would get into buying desks or equipment for it, but Jim had a suggestion, which is one of the items here is this new tech TriCaster, which is essentially giving the ability to provide digital video to a broadcast. So the students could create their own desks and imagery on.
So they'll be
just one of the items.
be able to
on
punch a button on, and then you'll have the kids sitting in front of the green screen, and suddenly there'll be the New York skyline.
Essentially. And Katie.
They will have so much fun.
And not.
And
I'm sorry, it'll also help.
You must join us up here at the, could you identify yourself for the people at home as well?
Michael.
Yeah.
Katie Gallagher, and I teach video production at Hingham High School. And that machine that is going to help with live productions, because right now if you take multiple cameras to a live production, say a musical performance or a play, you then have to edit it all together when you get back if you take, say, like a 3-camera or a 2-camera. So this would make that be live, the editing would be live, and would facilitate getting programming on the air a lot faster.
I have a quick question, if I may. I normally flip through the channels, and I look at that channel 2, and it's a total blank. Channel 22, rather.
Channel 22?
Yeah, it's a total blank lately.
Really?
Yeah, on Comcast.
On Comcast. Okay, that's something I'll look into. We're getting the signal on the TV that I monitor it through the high school. And I know the principal looks in her office to make sure it's not just something coming through. So,
And it's been like that for a while. I'm just not sure. I normally just.
you need a new remote?
No, no, we just.
well,
had-
and I heard that when there was a switch over to digital, what I think, and then some people needed to go get some form of equipment to help that signal come through. And I know that some people were
From regular cable to digital cable?
yeah.
You have to check with the contractor who did the work on your house to see if he cut a line or something.
It's possible. I know that Doc Gallo had the same issue.
Really?
Yeah.
We just had the fellow in the home the other 4 days ago or so, and didn't seem to indicate there was anything wrong with the system. It
Did you
just,
show him channel 22?
I suggest that you call in and get a ticket written on it.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, we can do that.
yeah, okay, good. Just a question I thought I'd ask. Okay, so,
And you're gonna get an on-air light.
Yes.
Will be cool. Also, I was thinking we needed an on-air light here because people kept not understanding why they needed to speak into this microphone since we can all hear each other perfectly well.
Yes.
But now that I know what it costs, I think maybe I'm just gonna get a little piece of paper with a light bulb here and I'm just gonna turn it on and leave it on for the whole meeting. That should work just as well.
okay.
Okay.
But I think it is something like the on-air light, that is something consistent, that as, you know, as you're teaching this, you want to have something that is the most like what
Right,
they're
no,
trying to learn.
for an
in the
educational
IRA.
setting, you really need that to get the real feel for what it's like to broadcast.
And in addition, we make a real program, and that airs every Friday. We have a tight deadline, and sometimes those productions get interrupted, and then we're really stressed out about it. So, so that's what it's for.
Yeah, and the TriCaster is really an exciting thing that we just talked about, because that is more like where the technology is going.
It's hidden,
It's
true.
getting them accustomed to that digital.
Okay. Ted, is there anything you'd like to add before we make this vote?
Nope, all set.
I will move to authorize the Cable TV Advisory Committee to purchase replacement equipment for the Educational Channel Studio at Hingham High School at a price not to exceed $10,000.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we can double back to the
contract.
agreement. And is there anything you'd like to point out to?
Nope, I think we've covered this, we covered the bulk of this contract in previous meetings, and we've just heard what their changes are, so I'm fine with that.
Ted, is there anything you'd like to add or subtract? Okay, well, then maybe I'd like a motion, if I may.
Okay. I move to sign the grant agreement by and between the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Hingham, Massachusetts, and Hingham Community Access and Media Incorporated.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What are the channels? Can you tell me what the channels are for the local channels, like Comcast and Verizon?
Comcast is 10 for government,
Yeah.
22 for education,
Okay.
97 for public,
Okay.
and who's got the Verizon? It's easy, I've got Comcast. 29, 30, 31.
29 is education, 30 is government, 31 is public.
31
31.
is what?
Public?
Public.
I missed the public channel on Comcast,
And that's with Verizon.
97?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that all live now with Verizon? We have all our 3 channels going?
We do have our channels going with Verizon. I was just looking at this channel on Comcast. It's a little fuzzy. So at home, we acknowledge that, and we'll be calling a ticket in tomorrow for this one as well.
Well, I'd just like to tell you that I saw somebody at an event last week who said, when you were first running for selectman, that was 4 years ago, I came up to you and complained about the Board of Selectmen meetings on television, and by golly, you did it. I said, well, I didn't do anything. I did ask a lot of questions, but I certainly had nothing to do with the improvement of the quality of the service. But I just wanted you guys all to know that it's definitely making a difference out there. People do watch these channels, and they do appreciate being able to see and being able to hear everything that's going on. So thank you for everything that you've done so far.
Surprising what can be done when you take the taping out of the control of Comcast and actually give it to the town. Things get done a little bit better.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Is there anything you could share with us in terms of your location of the studio
Well, we're
at
still-
this point?
We're still looking, and we've talked to Ted a little bit about trying to find something town-owned. Of course, that's not always easy to find 3,000 square feet available with parking and
12-foot ceiling.
and 12-foot ceilings. So we've been out in the commercial real estate market. We've been out around the town buildings. We have nothing definite at this point, but we are exploring. We try to look at least a building a week. And we continue our hunt.
Okay. And will you need the resilient floors and rounded walls and all of that? or
Well,
is
we
that-
do need, we've had a couple options close to the train that we've refused because of stopping production in the middle of the commuter
Yeah.
rush hour. So we've pushed away from some of those, and now we're trying to find something a little further away from the train. But we will need, some acoustical work inside the building as well.
But it's very exciting. Our new committee, which is now 3 months old, very excited. Everybody's gnawing at the bit to get going on production. And now that we are viable, we will be working hard to show you our products.
Okay, good. Great. Okay.
Well, thank you very much
Yeah,
for
thank you
everything that
all.
you've done.
And I
To
also just
all-
wanted to
everyone
recognize
who's-
Sandra.
Oh,
Peavy,
Sandra Peavy, sure.
couldn't be here today, but for all her work. And
Yeah, she's done a great job.
Yeah.
No, actually, I'd like to thank you all for all of what you've done. I know it's a tremendous amount of work, and thank you for doing it.
And those of you who just joined the HCAM for what you were about to do.
Okay, thank you
Thank you
again.
very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Long time coming, this is great.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Okay,
There it is.
we have on our agenda a brief discussion of a proposal for the tree and park barn at 8 Short Street. And is that something, Ted, you could,
Betty's actually gonna go over that with you. She's been handling the RFP process,
okay.
and she'll take care of it from here.
Betty,
As you know, we recently issued a request for proposal for the tree and park barn located at 8 Short Street. We had one response from Mr. Orr, who was here this evening. And I'd like to invite Mr. Orr up, if that's all right with the chairman?
sure, would you like to join us up here?
You have Mr. Orr's proposal in front of you. As you can see, he would like to relocate his cabinet-making business.
Okay. Well, Mr. Orr, could you take a couple of minutes and get comfortable, and then maybe introduce yourself to the folks at home? And
I'd be delighted to. Yes, I'm Dick Orr, 5 Beecham Place.
sorry. Sure,
Dick Orr at 5 Beecham Place in Hingham. And some years ago, before moving to Hingham, I worked as a cabinet maker full-time out west of Boston. And since moving to Hingham, I have operated strictly on a part-time basis, put a little shop in my home, and did some commission work here and there. No big, not a lot of volume certainly, but I would like to return to the business full-time as a furniture maker, a cabinet maker. And some time ago, actually when the Tree and Park Department moved out of that building, I had thought, my goodness, what a wonderful place it would be for my business. Both just the logistics of the building, the layout and so forth just fits me. I'm just a small operation. And of course, the location was just outstanding for me, but also the historic nature of the building. I thought that the building and JF and Sons, my little business, my DBA, have a nice common interest in preserving the historic nature and promoting the architectural integrity of the building, because I build 18th century style and Shaker style furniture, and that historic building would just be wonderful for me, and I thought I'd help it and it would help me. So here I am. I submitted the proposal to the RFP in hopes that I might make an arrangement.
Thank you. Laura, is there anything you'd like to ask
Yeah.
Mr. Orby?
Yes, I would. You'll be using only the first floor if we do sign this lease. Is the parking that you have available enough by the town bylaws? If you
Yes, it
use the whole
is.
first floor, so.
I got a plot plan and the bylaws there some time back, and went through, and I determined really by law, there are 8 parking spots available.
And you, so
that-
you won't need any waivers?
No, that will be fine for me.
Okay.
If I needed more than that, my business would be absolutely booming, so.
You'll have to
you
move to another
checked-
place.
I'm sorry, have you checked with community planning?
Have you spoken with Katie Lacy at Community Planning as to
Yes, I
what the,
have. She's the one that helped me out with this whole
Okay,
parking
okay.
issue some time ago,
so
yes.
she feels that the requirements would be met, no problem?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, what she did is she gave, I shouldn't put words in her mouth, she did give me the plot plan and the bylaws, and she left it up to me to just go through this, and that's what I did.
But Betty's gonna verify that. for the
I will
board.
verify that.
You're not signing the contract tonight. We're
Yeah.
not- necessarily asking
Yep.
you to do that.
Yep.
Briefing you on this.
Just wanted to flag that one, that's always an issue. And then, of
Yeah.
course, you are going to perform some renovations to make the building usable, and you know it is in a historic district.
Yes,
So you'll be working with the Historic
Yes.
Districts Commission on whatever you may do relative to the outside of the building that's visible from the street only, obviously not relative to the internal renovations. I just want to make sure that you knew that.
and incidentally, I just had a chat with Andrea Young a couple of weeks ago because I was quite interested in the fence that had been put around the cemetery. It was so attractive there, and of course, next to the building is still the old wire fence, and I was just inquiring,
Oh.
might there be any thought about replacing that as well with that nice fencing? She said, well, as a matter of fact, yes, that in the past, that with all the crew people and the snow and so forth, they were sort of, they didn't want to do anything at that point, but they would be amenable to, and I would like to participate in that in some way if that were to happen, for sure.
Oh, that's a
yeah.
that's a nice thought. Okay, those are my questions.
Now, under the bylaw, you would be operating as part retail and part, what, manufacturing?
Yes, actually, a craft establishment is one of the allowed uses.
Business A zoning is craft establishment, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
and that explicitly allows items made on the premises for sale directly to the public, I believe is the phrasing. Anyway, it would, and actually Katie is the one that recommended to me. She had suggested, again, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but we had talked about that, and that will be what I would be applying as, which is allowed under business zoning A, craft establishment.
And you're aware if you were to entertain any signage on the building, that's something you'd have to go to the zoning board of appeals for approval for?
I was under the impression that there were standard signage allotments that I did not have to get an approval for, but maybe there are.
Isn't there's a bylaw that says you can have up to this.
Yes, exactly.
Right, so you think you're gonna stay within those
Yes.
limits?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I want to make things easy for
Okay.
yeah, I can do that nicely.
Okay, sure. Other than that, you need to go to the zoning board of appeals for any relief. All right. Okay.
John, I was hoping that if, yes, I just wanted to make it as easy as possible for both myself and the town if this were to move forward. So I do feel that as far as all my requirements are concerned, they're all going to be covered under just existing bylaws.
Okay, now when you say you're gonna use the first floor only, that's for your operation. Will you be using the second floor for storage at all, or?
No,
No.
I don't think so. And the building inspector made it clear that that won't happen. No, I really can't use the second floor.
Okay.
You know, frankly, I'm hoping, maybe down the road, if this were to be successful and in a year or 2 years, something like that, if it could be worked out, the upstairs would be absolutely outstanding for a showroom, the high walls and all the window, natural daylight. And so maybe just, again, a couple of years down the road, if things were working along, I would like to visit that possibility, but not now.
Okay.
The roadblock to that would be parking and handicap accessibility, or what would both of
The
those things?
second floor, you mean?
Yeah, to using the second floor for your showroom.
One would be parking, yes, under the existing situation. And then secondly, also, it would be prohibitive, really, monetarily in order to make it code compliant. It's, I don't know that I need a lift necessarily, but the stairway needs a new staircase, so that would be a
Even
major-
without the idea of an elevator for handicap accessibility, just the stairway would put it out of reach.
Yes, it would, for right now, it would.
Yeah.
And then I need a second means of egress for the second floor as well.
Okay.
Okay, and these improvements, these are the ones that you're proposing, and you're okay with those?
Yes.
The restoration of the doors, the restoration of the 8 windows, and
Yes.
I understand there was a little bit of electrical that needed to be upgraded. Is that part of your proposal, or?
Yes, that's for a tenant improvement. In terms of the service into the building, it's quite adequate. Apparently, the Tree and Park Department upgraded the service panels, 200 amp, single phase. Fine for me, but I do need to run some more circuitry inside, and I had an electrician that was recommended to me by by someone actually at Town Hall a couple of weeks ago, and just to run a couple of 220-volt lines. No big deal. I just need a little more juice in there, that's all.
Okay, very good. Well, is there anything else you'd like to ask? Laura?
The only question I would point out is the RFP had an initial term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewals. That was the term of the lease that was put out as far as the RFP. And this reads a little differently, so I just wanted to make sure that we were.
I just came out, I put a stick in the sand there, and that was sort of my negotiating position. If I could do that, that's what I would like, for sure.
At this point in time, Betty's gonna forward this to Real Estate Council to mesh the
Okay.
desires of the lessee and also board.
Okay,
Okay.
very good. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Betty, or Laura, anything you'd like to ask? Ted?
Just that we're gonna try to get this wrapped up within the next couple of weeks, so you can get in there
Terrific.
shortly.
Great. Thanks very much.
Okay, hold on one second. Carol from the Hingham Journal?
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't clear, is there a product, it's not necessary to go before the planning board or zoning board, because it's an approved use, or is there any kind of review process other than just the selectmen signing?
The question was whether or not there's a review process for the planning board on this site approval, and I don't believe there is at this point in time.
Yeah, there was a zoning change that we just completed at the town meeting that
only-
allows for this.
The only thing we'll do is confirm with Katie Lacy that it meets the parking requirements, and there's no need for a waiver.
So he's gonna do everything within the bylaw, things which he's entitled to
Yeah.
as of right.
Okay, very good. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
Well, when are you gonna sign it, or why aren't you?
Well,
It hasn't gone to the town's attorney yet.
yeah, we're gonna take this under advisement and send it off to the town's real estate attorney for review, and any things that she'd like to work out with the potential RFP response, and we'll go from there. Okay?
Terrific.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Orr, for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Pleasure to meet you.
I wanted to thank Betty and Ted as well. They've been so nice to work with.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, I think there are a couple more votes that we need to take. That we should probably get out of the way next.
Yes.
The appointment of Ray Estes as chairman of the school building committee, that was a joint discussion between myself, Tom O'Donnell, the town moderator, as well as Linda Hill of the school committee. And the decision was made because the last chairman had resigned, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. McDonald, and this is their replacement. And we all seem to think that this particular individual would be the best one for the chairmanship.
Okay, are we the appointing authority, or does the school committee have to vote on it as well, do you know?
I think that we all do, yes.
We all do?
Yeah,
Okay.
we all do.
All right, well, I will
So-
move to appoint Ray Estes as chairman of the school building committee.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the next one, maybe Ted, you could give us a little bit of input on this, please?
We have an arrangement in the agreement with Bear Cove Marina, where we provide, the selectmen provide parking in exchange for payment, and the term of that required the payment to come at a certain point in time. They haven't gone through their permitting process completely, so they need to have this extension. The amendment will allow them to go through the zoning board and the planning board.
Okay.
Okay, I'll move to sign an amendment to the license to use real estate with Bear Cove Marina LLC and Bear Cove Properties LLC. The amendment will extend the time allowed for the Bear Cove parties to obtain necessary zoning approvals.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
And there's gonna
last.
be a jukebox at the simulator room at the country club. That is such a nice, it feels like kind of a down-home bar kind of a situation, you know, and the jukebox is just the right thing, I think. I'll make that motion. I move to grant Vista Verde Corporation, doing business as Raphael's at the South Shore Country Club, an entertainment license for a jukebox to be placed in the simulator room. The hours will be from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
I think that completes our
I did a couple
list
more.
of.
Yeah, 2 more votes.
Oh,
We have two more.
Oh, I move to sign a 3-year employment contract with Ted C. Alexiadis effective January 18th, 2011.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the last, do you want me to make this motion?
Sure.
I'll make a motion to appoint Laura Burns as representative to the Plymouth County Advisory Board.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now that does complete our list of votes. So now, is there any administrative reports that you'd like to?
The only thing I'd like to update the board on is, last week you had a vote to approve a transfer for repairs to the town pier. We initially were gonna hire a contractor to do part of that work. Thanks to Mr. Riley, your efforts, and the DPW, we've insourced that work. We're doing it with DPW personnel. They've done about a third of the project. They'll finish it up either tomorrow or the next day. It'll be open for Memorial Day.
Good.
And we're gonna wind up doing pretty much everything that was requested in the transfer at about a third the cost.
Oh, great. That's a good.
What was the cost again? What was the total cost?
The original cost was a little over 11,000, and we're probably gonna be doing it for about 3,500.
Okay. Is that it?
Yep.
Ms. Burns, is there anything you'd like to report?
I'll just report that a great time was had by all on Sunday at the Hingham Journal Citizen of the Year event, where Bill and Kathy Reardon were feted by the community as Citizens of the Year. Well-deserved appointment, and that was it's always a great opportunity to step back and take time to value the volunteers that this town relies on to get everything done. They have worn so many hats. I beg your pardon?
Grounds, yeah.
Grounds.
Right. And today, we had an event celebrating the retirement of Marilyn Harrington, the licensing clerk in the Selectmen's office, who has served the town of Hingham remarkably for 37 years. And kind of a bittersweet moment, but it was nice to be able to celebrate that. And the Board of Selectmen thanks Marilyn from the bottom of our hearts for everything that she has done for the town for the last 37 years. We will miss her. Betty's got her on speed dial for when we can't find something, because she's the one who knows where everything is. So that's gonna be a problem, and I hope that she will just wander through from time to time.
I hope
because
so.
I don't know what town hall would be like without her.
Yeah, that institutional knowledge is really something to behold, especially when she goes up into the attic and starts
Yeah.
looking for certain documents.
I mean, if I went up to the attic, I would never come down.
And I think Ms. Burns has pretty much spelled out things that I might mention, as well as the appointment as Ray Estes, between myself, Tom O'Donnell, and the chair of the school committee. So with that, I would like to make a motion to adjourn and to go into executive session with respect to contract negotiations.
I will so move.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
We will not return to open session.
And we will not be,
Yeah.
wait, we will be returning to open session. Is that not correct? Because we need to vote, we expect to vote to approve some of these contracts, and don't we need to do that we don't need to do that in open session? We're not going to approve a contract. Okay, then we will be discussing the contract, and we will not return to.
Okay.
Okay.